Welcome back to another experience from Angel Lori. I want to talk today about, we all know that certain things are passed down in families, and it just seems that now it's about bloodlines and ancestors and things of that nature. Well, when it comes to my parents, who I never really felt were my parents, my mom and my father, they both had near-death experiences. I personally have never had a near-death experience. Not fully. Because I do remember one time when I had to get my wisdom teeth extracted, and they were doing like 4 at the same time or something. I was like, that's a lot. But the dentist said, they all needed to come out. Might as well just do it at the same time or whatever. I do remember sitting in the dentist chair, and by now you all should know I do not like dental chairs. And this goes all the way back to grade school. No. And it's not for the fact of, it just being a dentist's office. It's something about that chair. But anyway, so I remember I was sitting back in a dental chair, and then, she was putting the whatever's in my mouth and the needles and everything. And I remember just blanking out. I guess, I guess she also gave me the general anesthesia too or whatever. All I remember was I blanked out. And I guess once they did what they did and I woke up, I had the strangest dream while I guess I was under. I felt that I was on a conveyor belt. It felt like I was on a conveyor belt as a soul, as a person, and that I was about to be recycled right back into this, whatever this is, this realm. I call Earth a realm. This realm, this hologram, this whatever you want to call it. That's exactly what that experience, that dream I had in the dental chair was. That basically it felt like, to me, my soul had left. And being that it had left this body, this meat suit, it was about to be put into another container. That's all I can say about that experience, because when I fully came out of the anesthesia, I was like reeling. I was like, did I kind of like die? Did these freaking incompetent mofos pulling out all 4 teeth at the same time, did they almost fucking kill me? I just couldn't shake the fact that I was like on a conveyor belt as a soul, as a being. It wasn't my body. It was like my energy, my soul, my whatever I am at the end of the day. When I leave this, that's what was on this conveyor belt. And I was just moving up the line. There was other souls on this belt, and we were all moving up the line. And I guess when it got to the end, that's where I guess I would have just fell over the edge and back into a body and back into another experience. That's all I can say. I guess that was my closest near-death experience, which I have no idea if I kind of like slipped away during that procedure. I never had any experience in a dream like that before, and not after. So, these dentists, man, they are money grubbing. Okay, they want to get paid. So, they'll take 4 teeth out at the same time. This was years ago. So that was my only experience of feeling like I left my body and I might not get back into this body, but I was going to be put into another container on the conveyor belt, like on the wheel of life, on the wheel of how this all works. That's how it felt to me. But getting back to real NDEs, okay, I will relay you what my mother told me, and then I'll relay to you what my father told to me. And there's similarities and differences in between both their experiences and how they got to the point of having a near-death experience. Now, my mom, she told me that she had like medical issues when she was younger. She never really went into full details, but she did pass away from complications from diabetes at the end of her actual life here, which she didn't come back from. But she said that prior to that, she needed like blood transfusions and things from time to time. And something had happened and she was flatlining. She said that she left her body. She didn't explain how. She didn't explain, like some people say they pop out their head. They go out their head, or they go through the eyes or the nose, either in a mist or just an energy explosion out. She didn't, nor my dad gave me, well, my dad a little bit more than my mom. But for my mom, she just left her body. And when she left her body, she described what I call, and similar to my dad's story, I call what they have in the Bible as the valley of the shadow of death. That's what I call it. Basically, it's like a void from what they explained to me. It's a darkness. But she said that when she came out of her body and I guess right into her spirit form, she didn't experience the darkness. She saw the darkness, but then she said for her, it was an immediate beam. Yeah, she said it was a beam of light that immediately engulfed her. So she didn't have like a hot second in the valley of the shadow of death, in the void. She didn't have but a hot second, the way she explained it. And she was ascending. She was going up. She said that she didn't feel like she had a body, but she still felt like herself. That's what she said. So I guess the personality that you are, that you have, that goes with you. I don't know. But that's what she explained to me. Because, I was fascinated. Once they got around to these subjects. And I can't even tell you how we got to the subject of my mom's NDE, or, well, my dad, yeah. Because I remember I was talking to my dad about my mom's NDE. He was like, well, I had experience. And I was like, so, yeah. So, I don't know how I got that out of my mom, but I definitely know how I got it out of my dad. But, so she's telling me she's going up. She's in this beam. She describes this beam of light, like the brightest, purest white. She didn't say it was golden. She said it was purest white. And she felt happy in it. I think she said that she saw flickers, like glitter flickers in that beam of light as she was going up. And I think she said as she was going up, she could audibly hear things. And I think she said it sounded like joy. She goes, it felt like joy, it felt like love that she was going to, and it sounded like joy. And she says that when she was getting closer to that beam, that she started seeing forms, shapes of people, and she felt that she knew these people, and she's like rising to them, and she feels that she knows them. And then she said she got to a certain point and she was so happy. And then she heard someone tell her, it's not your time. And then as soon as she heard that, she was back in her body. So it wasn't even like a return trip down the beam. It was just whoop, back into the body. To me, that's, I wouldn't have wanted to lose my mom, that early in her life, because at that point, I was a little kid when this happened. But that, it's like a takey backy. I'm just saying, you're feeling all this love, you're feeling all this joy, and then they just yanked the carpet out from you, and you're back in your body, and you're back to feeling pain, or whatever the condition was that allowed you to escape your meat suit. So that was my mom's. So when she came out, it was no like audible pop. It wasn't a sound. She didn't give me any indication that there was something unique about how she came out of her body. She was just in and out. In and out, into the light, going up. Now, the difference between my mom's story and my dad is that I know the reason how he got to his NDE. He told me, this happened. I'm an adult, and he's living in upstate New York. No, he wasn't in upstate New York by then. He was still living in Brooklyn. And he was living in Brooklyn. I think he said he was going to work, and then he got mugged. I've never been mugged. I'm a native New Yorker. I've never been mugged. I've never been held at gunpoint. None of that. Ain't about that kind of life. But my dad told me he got mugged. He got hit over the head. And he said once he got hit over the head, he said he felt his body going down. And he said it happened in a flash. He said he was out of his body and into a whole darkness. He said it felt like this whole existence just like a curtain had been pulled. That's what he said. It felt like a curtain had been pulled, and this is what was behind the curtain all along. He said that it was instantaneous. It felt like whatever realm he had just entered into was always there. Was not never there, was always there, but just behind what we call reality. Of this living and breathing in this crazy chess game, multi-layered circus we call Earth. It was just like how we say the dimensions are layered, boom. Like one layer just ripped off, and he was in another layer. So he said it was just like a curtain lifted, and boom, he was somewhere else. But what he described was like he lingered in the valley of the shadow of death for a bit. He said when he looked around, he was in total darkness. He goes, it was the deepest dark that he's ever experienced. He couldn't even describe the level of the darkness. He just said it was the deepest darkness. And he said it was a darkness you could feel. He said you could feel it, like it was enveloping you, like pressure. You could feel the pressure of the darkness on your being. He didn't even describe if he was just like a light being, if he was in a spirit body, or if he still had an imagery of being in a physical body. He just said he was here in this reality, ripped away into another one, into total darkness. He said he could hear things in the darkness. He said he could hear things in the darkness, and he said that while he was in that darkness, he prayed to Jesus. And as soon, like at the speed of thought, because he didn't describe like praying out of his mouth. It was like at the speed of thought, he prayed to Jesus. And when he did that, before he even finished that, a bright beam. He said it was bright. It was golden. It was bright. And it was on him. And he said when that light beam came down, the darkness departed like magnets. When you put them together, how they repel each other, like that light repelled that darkness. And that's why for both of my parents' experiences, I call that the shadow of the valley of death. And in the Bible, it says, you shall fear no evil. I think Once you're there in that void dimension, let's just call it how we see it, in that void dimension, if you have fear, your experience might be different. I'm just saying, don't fear. Your experience might be different, predicated on the fact that you are entering into a state of fear. Who knows? As a spirit form, maybe that feeling of fear kicks you into another dimension. Maybe that void is like a black hole, and then you just go down another door. Instead of the light being able to find you, reach you, and bring you, you go a detour. You take a detour. So we all know the Bible is convoluted. We all know that the Bible has been mishmashed around, and everybody and their mother has thrown something into it or yanked something out of it. But let's just take it this way. The valley of the shadow of death, do what it says. Fear no evil. My dad didn't say he was afraid. He just was disoriented in all that darkness. And that's why he called on Jesus. And when he called on Jesus, then the light was able, I guess, to hone in on him. And, oh, yo, bro, we got you. We see you. Sorry for the delay. And it just, boom, was on him. And then he said he was going up. Quickly ascending. But my dad actually made it to wherever this is. You want to call it heaven? I call it another dimension. I call it another layer, another place to be. And he said as he was going up, he could hear trumpets. He could hear like celebrations, and he saw a kingdom. He said he saw a crystal kingdom with streets paved of gold. And he said it wasn't gold, it was glass gold. It was like the most brilliant colors you could ever see. But he said it was a crystal castle. That's what I saw. I was headed to the crystal castle. And I'm like, and then when like I listened to like other people's NDEs on the show, another a show here on YouTube, and you know, every now and again you will hear somebody talk about that they've seen a crystal castle or mansions. It's in my father's house there are many mansions. So he saw a crystal castle, and that's what he was headed for. And once again, he heard a voice like my mom that said, "It is not your time." And he said he woke up in the street. There was ambulance people working on him. Emergency EMS people working on him, preparing to put him in an ambulance. I guess somebody probably saw it. This elderly, this older gentleman laying on the street with his head knocked open and said, "Oh my God, even New Yorkers have hearts." Okay, if we see somebody hurt, we're gonna call for help. And he said he woke up and he was being worked on, and they took him to the hospital. He had to get stitches in his head. Mind you, at the time that this happened, he didn't tell us. I mean, this conversation happened years later. Men, I mean, seriously, you men, you'll drop dead. Wake up. Don't think nothing about telling your family about it. Don't call your daughter and say, "I'm in the hospital and I had to get stitches and I was knocked out of my freaking body and I left this plane and entered another one and then entered another one." Man, you guys are a different breed. You are a different breed. Now, you get sick with a cold, we can't get rid of you. You're like, but you get knocked in the head and you die, have experiences and come back. No need to tell the fam. They're good. They don't need to know that. But anyway, that was their two experiences. So my dad, he was physically assaulted, hit on the head, left his body, had his experience. He lingered in the valley of the shadow of death. So he lingered in that void space between, I guess, once you leave your meat suit and you're heading to other realms. That's like a nasty pit stop you may not want to take. And not all souls have to take that pit stop. I'm kind of hoping when it's my time to go that I, go. I shoot out through my head and I'm like in our direct solar system, like shooting out of Earth, heading towards Venus, bypassing Saturn, bypassing Jupiter. I'm on my way out that way. That's how I always want to leave. I want to leave and see this solar system as I leave. And as I leave, I want to enter the sun and exit out that way. Because that's how my soul came into this dimension. I came through a sun portal. I have a direct connection to the sun. I call the sun my brother. When I'm out in the sunshine, I'm like, brother, thank you, bless you. And I absorb his rays. And early in the morning or at sunset, I'm absorbing him directly. I'm looking right at him and I'm taking it in. I'm getting my codes. I'm getting my love. I call the sun my brother, and I always have. And I call the sun my brother is because I know as an angelic in the flesh here, I do have an angelic brother that guards the sun portal. And I love him dearly. Oh my God. So anyway, that's how I want to exit. Do our solar system through our sun. I'm going to come out the way I came in. That's me. But the experiences that my parents had going through the valley of the shadow of death, one was malingering in it, getting a little confused, till he called on Jesus, and then he was located. Now, when you think about all those types of things, does it make you think that on some level, it's all some type of computer simulation? Because when he called on Jesus, then the light came. Suppose he didn't call on Jesus. Suppose he was another faith. Maybe it goes by what you believe when you're in that energy realm. I don't know. I mean, it's just something to think about. And to listen to other people's NDEs and get a collection and an understanding. I mean, I don't, I've never been in the hospital and declared dead. I just had that experience, coming out of the anesthesia at a dental office. But, both my parents had NDEs. My stepfather never said he had an NDE, so I'm not sure. He could have, but he never talked about any NDEs. I never talked with my stepfather about his NDEs or if he had any like supernatural experiences or ET experiences. I haven't. And sometimes when I try to broach things with him now, because we were not friends as a child growing up, not as a teenager, and not really even as a early young adult. Now we are. Time changes a lot. The people that you think that you hate and you want to die, or might just end up being the people you care the most about at the other end of the spectrum. But those are my both of my parents' experiences as relayed to me by them. It's just more pieces of the puzzle, more things to think about. Like, I know how I want to exit. And I also know that I want to be cremated. I don't want any funeral services. I don't want anybody saying any nice words about me. Shh. Keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself. You do not need to talk about me. Keep my name out your mouth, okay? No, we shall have none of that. Cremate me. Stick me in a box, put me in an urn. Throw me in a trash can for all I care. I don't care. This is not me. This is not who I am. This is just something that I created to have this experience here. So keep that. Just don't bury me. Bury me, I'll come for you. And you will not think I will come for you. I will come in your dreams. Just don't be buried. I do not want to be buried. I don't want to be no ancient Egyptian mummy you dig up years later like, oh, what was her life like? You stare at my bones. No. Burn it all. Release it. Just don't release me over water. I don't want to be over water. I would really, really love to be cremated and then shot into space so that my earthly remains were out there in the universe, dispersing. That would be amazing for me. That would be amazing. That's how I want to go out. I want to shoot through the solar system, go through my sun, and have my ashes becoming part of the stars. Well, that's the end of this episode of my experiences in life. This was experiences of NDEs of my parents, not of me. So, thank you for listening. Until next time.